So, President Zelensky of Ukraine was at the Vatican in the Eternal City, Rome, and he told the Pope, Pope Francis, who had offered to mediate, that there can be no mediation, that he is the one who's going to decide, he, Zelensky, will decide how the conflict ends. And so he basically said that Russia must give everything back. Moscow, in other words, the government must totally capitulate. And Putin and Mr. Lavrov and every single Russian official, even the guy who turns the lights on in Red Square at night, needs to be brought before the International Criminal Court and basically tried and hanged for war crimes. So let me give Mr. Zelensky a bit of a history lesson. First of all, I admire his commitment to the bit, because this is obviously all an act, and he's a puppet, and he's basically told what to say. And I would also remind you that this man is famous not because he's a statesman or he has some sort of grand political history. It's because he was able to play a piano with his penis. That is how he became famous in Ukraine. So let's look at the history of people who think they're buddies with the U.S. and what happens to them. In Panama, Manuel Noriega, he thought he was total pals with the U.S. Well, until he wasn't. And the U.S. Basically evicted him and put him in jail, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Then we have Saddam Hussein, who on the first go-round, we let him stay in power. But on the second go-round, we decided, you know what, this guy outlived his usefulness. We have Muammar Gaddafi in Libya, who, he was cool with us. We were cool with him, or so he thought. Until, of course, we decided we didn't need him anymore. And let me also remind Mr. Zelensky of what happens to people who believe that their people support them basically no matter what. Il Duce, Mussolini, was hanged by his own people in Italy. Ceausescu, the former Romanian dictator, happened to be flying away to escape when his own men betrayed him and brought him back to the capital to be executed in a speedy trial that took exactly 90 minutes. I would also like to remind you as to who is providing Mr. Zelensky's security. Those are members of the British SAS, SBS. Special Air Services, Special Boat Services. And the reason for that is because Zelensky does not trust his own men. The real danger for Mr. Zelensky is not that the Russians will get a hold of him. The real danger for Mr. Zelensky is that his own men, his own people, will get a hold of him if they're able to, and try him for destroying their country at the behest of the United States. And this will end speedily, as I've pointed out before. People who think, what's going on? It's taking so long. Right. Well, the U.S. spent 20 years in Afghanistan removing the Taliban and reinstalling the Taliban in power. So things will proceed at the pace that the Russians want them to proceed at. And when it's all said and done, either Mr. Zelensky will be in the hands of his own people, or he will have fled the country to Miami, where he has a $31 million mansion. And, it'll really be over when the British security forces withdraw their men and say he's no longer to be protected. So anybody who thinks that this is going to end well for Mr. Zelensky, or that somehow his fantasies will come true, is living literally in a fantasy land. And I feel sorry for the people who believe that, but too bad. Too many people are willing to believe anything these days.